how the
Okay, let's get
stones
started.
were very
because they were using
similar.
it.
Yes.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, and we are live.
Yes.
Hello world. Today I'm actually very happy because we have a repeat guest already. Monika is joining us for a second time. And she was actually our second guest, right?
Yes.
And the second guest though was connected to to complications.
Yeah?
Yes.
They seem to follow me everywhere.
No, now they see your face as well.
So actually you just told us something very interesting about bamboo.
Yeah, I hope I'm not wrong, but there's a theory that says they used this during the ancient times in Egypt to build the pyramids. They used bamboo to break rocks in such square shapes and similar because it dilates when you pour water inside, so the power of it breaks stones.
Oh Jesus.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have sound?
We have sound.
Wow.
Yay.
Yes, exactly.
They
Happy.
also use bamboo to torture people, by the way.
How?
It's one of the fastest growing plants.
Okay.
And they would strip someone naked and have him or her lie on the ground on top of some bamboo
And then they just
sticks,
wait.
and they just leave them there.
Yeah.
And the bamboo, because it grows like 5
Through?
centimeters a day.
Or
Well,
it hurts.
It goes through the
it
body.
depends how bad you have
I
been.
suppose.
Okay.
If you've
It's
been
like the
nasty.
Chinese drop or the Japanese drop.
Exactly.
You know that,
Yes.
yeah.
I mean,
Yes,
it's also
Chinese drop, yeah.
it's also an Asian how do you say?
Folklore.
No, not
No.
I would say folter, but that's German for torture.
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 Yes.
Yeah, there's something that
Yeah.
makes Asians quite
It's
vicious when it
They're
comes to
quite,
torture.
very original with their methods, I believe. But they're also quite intelligent and as well in
very
terms
Maybe
of
that's a connection.
war and the warriors. So, like,
You know, the
since
smarter you are, the more
Genghis
ways
Khan
of
and
torturing.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it can push you to a superiority complex, which might lead to violence. So,
But actually, Monika, who are you? What is
Who am
your
I?
What is your story?
that's a
in
question
sentence?
that it's hard to answer. Actually,
Not
when
a
you have
philosophical version.
okay, when you have to actually say who you are. Who am I? Like this body.
What is a body?
No, don't start.
Yes, this can continue.
I'm still 27, so I'm not yet 28. I am proud of that.
I'm also 27.
Yeah. Happy
Cheers.
birthday.
Cheers to
Cheers. You still have to grow a bit.
that. Yes. 2 more years, but yeah.
Are you allowed to drink beer?
Don't be in a hurry. Definitely don't be in a hurry.
Don't say it to mom and dad.
I'm from Romania. I'm from Pitești, which is an actual not that small compared to Austria. So I remember last time discussion, but it's quite a small city. 150,000, 200,000 people. So close to Bucharest, 100 kilometers away. I studied in Pitești until my high school, and then I moved to Bucharest and I studied 1 year there. Then I came to Belgium. My experience with Belgium is still to be determined.
So what's the
actually.
best so far?
What?
Where did you enjoy it the most?
Living.
Just ask how many years you've been living in Belgium?
Well,
Yeah, just
it's in total is
total,
6 years,
In
but
total 6 years,
I lived here for 2 years. Then I went back to Romania,
Okay,
finished my
for
bachelor
another-
there,
yes.
and then I came here 4 years ago.
Okay.
First time I came here, I was very depressed, so it wasn't the best experience. I had left my father at home. I had left all my friends.
And you were still very
I was
young, yeah.
I was connected to the place. I had lived there for 20 years, and my mom and my sister had moved here for 6 years already. So I had somehow disconnected with them.
Oh, that's interesting.
yes.
I didn't know that
So
they
you
were
came
living
to
here
them.
for
You
such
I
a long
came
time before
to
you-
live with them.
Yeah.
Yes, my mom had already married a Belgian guy, so she lived somewhere else, and I lived with my sister. I
It
got.
must have been a tough decision to,
Well,
to do this.
I always felt like I was supposed to do this step because my mom came here, then my sister came here, and it was normal because they say there are many more opportunities in Belgium than there are in Romania. So we wanted to move to Belgium a long time ago, since maybe 15, 20 years ago, because we had friends here, we visited a lot and so on. But my dad never wanted to move. And I was also keeping his side because...
He wanted to stay in Romania?
He wanted to stay. He had his parents, he had his brother, he's very connected. And I felt also a little bit, I don't know, it's not patriotic, it's just like, it's home.
It's more home, less willing to just to go somewhere else.
Yes, it felt like leaving everything back and starting new. It felt crazy, dangerous. And
what did you do? Because you were still in your bachelor when you came here. In your bachelor studies?
Yes.
So did you work or did you study just from the
No, I came here to study. I had frozen my year in Romania so that I could come back if things didn't work out here. I came here, I went to study at the ULB, so that's the French university. First year I did human and social sciences, and I wasn't expecting the amount of material that you have to study, the fact that...
Human and social science is so
general. It's vague, yes. I had classes from... I had 2 or 3 classes on law. I had statistics, I had math, I had history, I had philosophy, psychology. Yes, I had art. I had
so everything that's done by humans.
Yes, definitely. So what I learned during that year is that they give you a lot of courses and a lot of material. So like I had one course about the arts, one about history. So you had to study like 2,000 years, 3,500 years of history and art. In French, which wasn't was one of my weak spots, actually. I didn't like French. I didn't like speaking in French because I get corrected a lot, and I hated that.
How did you learn French to begin with?
School.
Was it in your school?
Yes. In Romania, it's English is our second language, so we study first English, and then we study French, and we have the option. No, it's Spanish or German. The other 2 languages that are still studied.
But your language, the Romanian, is very close to the Italian.
It is,
right?
yes.
So maybe that's why, because they kind of think that you're automatically.
I understand it without having ever studied it.
As a language too.
I guess
because this would be my logical suggestion that you actually.
I don't know why we study German or Spanish otherwise, but I know from personal experiences that those were other options that people I knew could choose. But for me,
German
it was...
and Spanish is the Spanish, half of the world in a way speaks Spanish. You know, it's like a native tongue, or 1/3. I think 1/3 maybe.
But the German side, I don't know. I mean, we did have like occupancy at some point. We were occupied by the...
There might have been some...
Very big power.
That many Romanians go to Germany, or that in job-wise.
Many more go to Italy and Spain, so I don't think that's it. Maybe it's because we have a minority of Germans in central Romania, in Transylvania, so that's one of the biggest minorities we have. It's Germans.
We don't have any.
Could be the fact that we were under the Austro-Hungarian Empire at some point.
I think it's economic reasons, just because Germany and Austria and German-speaking languages.
Are there that many? I mean, there are many Romanians in Germany and Austria, but I think the language is much more difficult for us to learn. So there are fewer than in other Latin countries. Yes.
Was there something particularly interesting during your bachelor here at the ULB? Because you had such a broad.
Interesting in terms of curriculum or people, or
something that you in the curriculum, something that you were learning.
For years, I thought like I lost that time because I didn't pass half my exams. I didn't go to classes that much. I was watching TV series all the time and sitting in bed, and I was depressed. I actually went to a psychologist for like 4 or 5 sessions, and then I said, it costs a lot of money. It was like 50 euros for 1 hour that was 5 years ago, so it was still
now
a lot.
it's much more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to go to a French one, so I wanted to go to a Romanian one so I can speak freely.
Yeah,
and of course, you trust your people a lot more than you trust other people, I guess. So that was some sort of a failure because she wasn't really good. She was asking me all these tests. Are you paranoid? Do you think someone's following you? I was like, I'm depressed. I mean, I'm not here because I'm crazy. Yeah, she did some tests. She did some psychological tests, like the ones with the pictures that you have to see what you see in the picture, or the I guess
test,
yes. I was also interested in me too. But then I was also sure.
I was in the group
You are a
of,
bit schizophrenic.
yeah, I was in the group of, close to.
I don't actually believe in those, but
But that's
at
super
some
weird.
point,
That
yeah.
was her approach. Because
No, I think it was also my fault because I was excited to do those tests for once. I mean, I was like, I don't want to talk about myself anymore. I just want to do
that's why
some
you go
tests.
there.
Have some funny random things to learn about yourself.
Yeah.
So I did the test, and when I saw it, I was like, no, I think somebody's watching me or following me. I think someone is trying to kill me. I was like, no. What is
You
this?
made a joke and pretended, yes, absolutely. Not one person, but 10,000.
A joke that costed me 50 euros an hour was a joke on myself.
It is a joke, yeah.
Maybe she was paranoid.
She could have been. I mean, it didn't.
Monika is following me.
It didn't do
She's
that
an agent,
much
actually.
to help me actually, because I felt like she was there like an observer, and I was talking all the time. She was just like taking some notes, and then I was like, oh, but does this mean da 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 da? I mean, I was answering my own questions, at some
But
point.
that's how it should be in general.
That's
in
how
therapy.
it works, I guess,
Yeah.
because she's there just so that you can reflect your feelings off of her somehow.
Yeah.
I think she's like a mirror, so you draw your own conclusions or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so what I actually came to the conclusion is those years that I failed at the ULB weren't failed, because I got a lot of knowledge out of it, because I had such a broad spectrum of courses, and even though I passed half of them only, I did study for them, so I even remember now stuff that I learned back then, which is quite amazing, and I think it helped in the end to develop who I am. So it's not for nothing. So the first year it was that. The second year I studied because I changed. They do this in ULB because they have 20,000 students, and 10,000 of them are in the first year, so they have a lot of first years. That's how they detach the good ones from the ones that are not there to study, because they give a lot of input.
Yeah.
And so they fail more than half of them.
Overload, the people, and then
Yes, it's a filter, and then more than half of the people in my year stopped or changed.
Yeah.
The bachelor they were doing. So then I moved to Spanish and English. I wanted to do languages, and I knew a little bit of Spanish from telenovelas. And
You have those in Romania?
you have them, yes. We have a special channel for those.
Only Latin American or Spanish telenovelas?
It's Latin American, yes.
Exactly, yes.
I don't speak Spanish because I cannot do the Veda. I speak more Latin American. But I learned it without wanting to. So I wasn't the type of person that looked at telenovelas a lot. I think I saw like 3 from beginning to end. 3 telenovelas, but I was really into them. So at some point I stopped watching them on TV because I was so anxious to see the next episode. So I watched them online.
Yeah.
And online there was no subtitles. I watched them without subtitles, and that actually helped me a lot to learn Spanish.
Definitely.
Wow. My speaking skills are not that great, but I understand and I can read and la la. And I said I'm gonna study Spanish so I can also improve my grammatics and speaking skills. And English was fine. I knew English. I was proud of it. It was my only 16 that I got out of 20 in that year. But I failed one exam. So I failed one exam, and that made me fail the whole year. That, if you can believe that, yes.
One exam?
Yes, because I didn't have the moyenne. I didn't have the average. You had to have the 12 average, and my notes were like 9, 10, 11. I didn't have very high grades.
Yeah. Okay.
So the problem with failing that exam was an English exam for literature, which I love actually. I had Charles Dickens, I had the classics, you know, Charlotte Bronte, the sisters and so on. I studied like my ass off. I was so prepared for the exam, but the problem was I went to the exam 3 days later. Then it was an oral exam. We were supposed to write our names on the door on the office of the professor for a slot to take part in the exam. Since I didn't have a lot of friends in the university, I didn't have with whom to communicate about this. So I went. I wrote my name on a piece of paper that was on an office that I thought was the right one, but actually it wasn't. So I went on Monday, let's say, and the actual exam was on Friday. Yes, and I wasn't the only one. There were like 4 other people in the same condition as I was. But the professor was, she was very ethical and very stubborn, and she said, no, you had to learn. No, she said I had 3 more days to study than the others, and it wouldn't be right for me. I would have even, like, you can take 4 points away from my mark if you want, but just let me try.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
It's a tough decision.
It is.
Because then the other students will hear about that.
I don't know if they would have cared, honestly, because we were many in that class, and I don't know how mean people are or not, but yeah, she said no, she gave me a 0, and with that 0, my average went very low.
Oh, yeah.
So it was below 12, and I
conscious mistake. I mean,
it wasn't on purpose. So let's say it was destiny. Let's say it's the fact that my mind works weird and my head is in the clouds or something like that, you know.
Which is not necessarily a bad thing. I mean.
Well, it's
not necessarily a thing that you can modify. If you are like that, I guess all you can do is try to be a bit more structured and organized.
So that was your episode at the ULB.
Yes.
Right after that, you stopped studying there.
I stopped studying there. I said it's a sign. I'm losing time, and that actually left some kind of mark on me, and I felt like a failure for maybe the second time in my life. The first one was when I went to university. I had to pass an exam, and it was in Romania. I did languages, but I did Dutch and French, and I had an exam for English and French, so I was feeling very confident. I will pass this. I don't need particular private lessons. I'm fine. And then I actually got a 6 out of 10, and it was a bad grade. And you had people with scholarships that didn't pay for the tax, for the yearly tax, and you had people that had to pay the tax, and they draw the line right above me. You know, I was the next one to go to have a scholarship, and I felt like a failure back then. And this was the second time that I felt like that, and I guess that's why I've been studying for until now, actually.
And you have 2 masters, right?
I have 2 masters now, yeah. I'm waiting to graduate.
You compensated quite a lot.
Well, I guess that's why, because I lost 3 years, I wanted to have 2 masters to make up for those 2 years. It balances out. But then I still feel like a failure. Like, I'm applying for jobs, and I feel like I don't know how to do anything, you know? Even after 2 masters.
It's not because of you, but it's because they tell people that you need a academic degree.
Yeah.
And they make you believe that that's all you need. But that's actually the smallest piece of that you need for most jobs out there.
Yes, and also university is much too theoretic.
Diploma.
Yeah, it's like
to prove that you had been through the process, but then the skills.
That's an expression that I can't really say properly, but it's like enough just to show that you have something, but you still need much more.
But it's like the minimum required.
Exactly, it's like a minimum requirement, but it's not on the. How do you say?
I know.
It does make you the best qualified person in a way.
No, I mean,
I agree.
Because we had the same thing with Laura's studies, because we were actually talking about media and video production, and we were showing a friend of ours, how to handle a camera, and both had studied journalism, but.
None of them.
Never a topic. They never showed you anything practical when it comes to this.
No, it's a problem because I don't think we're aware of what we're studying to it. Like when I read the description, it sounded so nice. It sounded amazing. Like I actually thought I would become a journalist after a master, you know, like it was my dream to write, to be a journalist, and then I went there, and I think I should let go of this deception, but I didn't learn what I wanted to, and I didn't actually learn something that I have used in my work.
What was the title of the studies exactly?
It's Communication Studies, Journalism and Media in Europe.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it was actually indicated that it's going to be with emphasis on research, but the way that the modules were described, the way that the courses were described, you know, it was just these names that kind of as well deceived me to a certain degree, because, for example, journalism in practice. I mean, what would you think when you read such a course, you know? And then, like, we're gonna show you the practical, you know, ways of modern journalism. I mean, what would you think? I would think that actually they really teach us something. I mean, they teach us how to do a reportage.
I think that's the only class where we actually wrote any articles.
But it's still not no journalism in practice was this with Piccone, where we were doing this application, you know, which was like to invent something.
Stupid.
Yeah, to invent. It was about inventing a certain technology and
an app or technological support or service. Proposal, you know, like the plan.
Do you remember?
Somebody who studies journalism.
Yes, exactly. And it's called journalism in practice. So wouldn't you be deceived that it's actually? I thought that they're gonna teach us how to do the camera exactly, or how to do a reportage, how to stand.
And for me, journalism was more about writing or taking an interview or whatever. We never did any of that.
And it turned out but the moment that we actually went to these studies, they explained to us that this is kind of the old, you know, that now comes the modern journalism, the new media and everything, and this is kind of the old type.
Maybe we're ahead of our time.
Yeah,
well, I imagine it, when I hear that, I imagine that some extra journalist comes to you and tells you how you develop a story. Or how
we
he has
had,
been
I think,
writing
at some
stories.
point one journalist that came to show
practice,
us.
You know? Okay, you have a lead.
Somebody?
No,
No,
he's
known as interactive journalism.
The practical aspects of it. As a journalist, okay, you have a lead, you have to develop contacts, then you interview people, and then you build a narrative, for example, something like that.
I mean, all we studied about journalism was from books. I don't think you learn journalism from books. Even investigative.
No, the word is out there.
No, it was more like our studies were more like an evaluation of the state of journalism as a profession right now than actually hands-on.
So it's academic.
Doing it. It's academic. Yeah,
it's academic, but then not even. They never took us in a newsroom. They never. They never put us in contact with journalists. How do you study journalism from outside? Without being, you know, very academic, very theoretical.
Exactly.
Or having you write the
just
press
behind
release.
The desk,
never.
Would be helpful.
Which would be helpful actually in our work now. I mean,
a newsletter, a press release. I mean, one course for which we wrote 3 articles, I remember, with Benjamin. Yes, that was the only class that we had with actually writing anything else but essays and full papers and.
Although it was again not like there are many more details if you want to have your article published, like what type of a media, like you know, it depends on the structure of the format of the media and everything. So it was good that we wrote some articles, you know, but it was
more practical than anything else.
It was more practical than anything else. That's true.
Or conducting interviews. That's important.
Yeah.
And
maybe for the thesis, that's all the interviews I did.
But they didn't
you had that. You had
us exactly.
But they didn't teach you.
No, they just gave us an option to use the methodology of interviews, but they didn't teach us exactly.
I mean, in the module of you know, user track, producer track, you did have various forms of either you do interviews or you do focus groups, and you had like a description of what an interview is.
But
I have a specific thing in mind when I say that, because when I read news or media, and sometimes I read interviews, but in my opinion they're worthless most of the time. Because nowadays journalists are so, I guess they're so entrapped in the day-to-day thing that in an interview they're incapable of having actually critical questions.
Yeah, critical questions.
I haven't read an interview in a long time where, for example, a head of state was asked critical questions.
It's true.
I can remember there was an interview with the German defense minister.
It's more like a PR.
And she's quite a controversial person, so I'm not gonna go into much detail, but one of the things she was warning about was the Russian interference in Ukraine. And then one of the things she said is, it's so awful what the Russians are doing, because this is one of the first times that since the Second World War. It's the first time since the Second World War in Europe that the borders were changed by force. And every journalist should just say that's wrong.
Yeah.
Think about Kosovo.
Yes, exactly what
Kosovo, military intervention against international law, and they changed the borders by force.
Absolutely.
And this was a journalist of one of the most renowned German media.
It's just factually, it's not right.
Yeah, and there's no second question or follow-up question or pressing on hard things.
Yeah.
And they should teach you that.
Well, few people know about Kosovo.
If you're a journalist, it's like not an everyday person.
Yeah, I would know. And it's only an example, but it's actually like the general case what you describe, and it seems more like I don't know, it's too pre-structured, too fake, and too much like a PR action in itself, the interviews that you read nowadays than anything else. So this thing between the PR and journalism, I guess because of this field being so financially challenged in a way, maybe it kind of merged, the boundaries are very blurry right now between what is PR and what is actually journalism. And I don't know, like the financial state is only one reason though for why we are to this state.
Journalism has lost a lot of its credibility, I think, and status, and with this he lost the watchdog role, like the fourth power. It doesn't do its role anymore because I think it has a lot of pressures coming from outside, so it's like commercially it's challenged, and then no readers, politically as well.
Tough situation, tough environment.
Everyone is like guarded right now, and journalists cannot anymore penetrate those.
And are they scared to some degree? Because
scared, I think they are with the latest development.
Because the way the groups that they're bashing are usually the citizens, like the usual thing is calling the concerned citizens Nazis because they're against immigration, which is of course also a generalization. But you see, like they don't go against the powerful, but they go against the average person on the street in a way.
I'm not sure it's because of fear though, or because of comfort and security, because they know that this way they will secure, continuing working in this. Everything is very much controlled from the top.
And they depend on those people.
Exactly.
That's what I mean by scared. They do the safe thing in a way.
Scared of losing contact and
losing your position in the whole system, and aka your job and all of this comfort of
in many countries I
that's
think
something that a journalist should be they should be uncomfortable. They should be annoying. They should
true,
ask the inconvenient
and
questions.
I think that absolutely, but
they
I
should
think
also
that
be
people
protected.
underestimate how really.
Speaking of, how many journalists died recently?
Yes, and how many have been threatened, and
we underestimate
then whistleblowers
how
you have a problem.
It's actually from the top. I mean, I think
everything
really
is a top-down approach.
It is, and it's getting tighter and tighter. And only this fact that only 50 years ago there were how many companies? 50 companies that were doing that were owning
the
US, that were owning the media, the broadcast, the paper industry, and everything. And now are 6. I mean, 6 from 50. From
6 major corporations.
6 major corporations, and this is like the mergence and everything for economic reasons as well. But actually, we underestimate the consequences of such form of concentration, and one is the tighter control in the structure. So
definitely,
all of the separate entities who are the journalists, they just can't move around. You get the
I mean, we've seen this in Europe with Hungary and Poland and Romania as well. There's a lot of pressure on journalists and on television people. They've been just like fired, and directors have been just putting people that they know and they trust and on very high level positions. And the European Union has actually warned these countries that there's a problem with freedom of the press and how you do things, but
not only in these countries. For me here also there is a problem with freedom of the press. What Matthias says is actually an example that illustrates also the developed countries and the countries that are a bit better, not Romania and Bulgaria. The thing is that there is no critical push, no desire at all to produce something that will actually make people say, oh wow, You know, I mean, it's always like
informative,
just
like
informative, just what the politician said. I'll just report it, and that's
but
it.
now we're making I mean, we're not, but they are making maybe an error when it comes to information. I mean, for me, information is something valuable.
Yeah.
It's not
And
just
not
like
just
day-to-day
repeating
facts
Opinions.
that you,
Yes.
And often it's opinion reporting.
Repetitive,
Exactly.
yeah, absolutely.
But just to add what you were saying is also the fact that Jeff Bezos bought the Washington Post. You know, the guy that owns Amazon, who's the richest person.
Yeah.
Apparently Trump doesn't like him because he has more money than Trump.
No, because the Washington Post is railing against Trump.
That too, maybe, yeah, definitely.
But
a
I find it
connection
very
there.
ironic that the Washington Post has now the headline under the Washington Post logo on the website, "Democracy dies in darkness."
Oh my God.
It says the newspaper owned by a billionaire
Yeah,
who wants to
exactly.
have people wear a column, you know, that
Yes.
tracks their location in the warehouse.
Yeah, it's like it knows where you are when you leave, when you come in. I mean, not much
Yeah, they have
time
a-
It's like
more.
a chip
Private
system
patent.
that is on the...
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I don't know, but all of these, I just want to point out that all of these explanations and reasons for the journalism to go to such a low quality, which definitely I believe are, I mean, the concentration, the pressure, and the stress are, for me, no excuses. Because being a journalist, you need to have some form of integrity and some form of really
Definitely.
normative structure that drives you forward. Because this is not something like... I mean, actually, every profession should have, of course, integrity, but being a journalist could be, in a way, positioned among being a teacher, being even a doctor, in a way, because you have a lot of
Engineer
influence.
and so on, I mean,
And then
yes.
it means that what needs to drive you really is really doing your job with integrity and truthfulness. And then if you're put in a position
Yeah.
where you're not able to,
Well,
I
you
think
are.
you should quit. I mean, and
And
not
you
just
are.
continue to be the puppet. But this is, of course,
Start
very easy
your
for me
own.
to say. I don't want to say there are people with families who, you know, are not in such easy situation. I understand that, but I just hope that, yeah, there will be people who really go into that profession with heart, and then when
There
they
are,
see
I'm
that
sure there are people.
they try to corrupt them. I mean, don't just stand there and say, yeah, well,
You see that
just go out.
you
of the
hear
way,
everywhere
just,
of
yeah,
this
raise
type of
awareness on that
journalists.
and just go away and.
But the corruption is very subtle. It's not like you get put in a room and they tell you,
No,
okay,
they
you write this story.
self-censor themselves.
Exactly.
That's also
That's subtle.
true.
That's subtle. That's not overt. That's a very subtle way of
Indeed, but
shaping.
the journalist in a way chooses to do it. You choose to self-censor yourself because you want to continue
Yeah,
with
but
your
then you
job
risk going
and
to
everything.
prison, or you risk
You risk
being
losing your
killed.
job.
And for
You
someone,
risk also
for
being
some
killed.
people,
No, don't risk being killed. Don't publish then this material and everything. Just fucking leave the room and go and do something else. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't wanna. I'm not a give. I don't say that they should give up in a way, but if it actually causes your integrity and morals, I think it's okay to give up.
I think
Then just to stay there and to produce those bullshit and to say
for some people,
what can I
integrity
do?
and morals, it's a fluid thing. So it kind of changes in time.
Yeah.
So it doesn't remain
True.
the same. So
Although
it
that's
adapts
very
to
weird
the
because it
environment
should
as
be,
well.
but that means it's not integrity and
depends,
moral.
yeah.
That means it's not. Morals do not adapt. That's the thing. It's the
If
principles
people
that you
change, morals change as well.
I don't think so. I really think that morals are something that you really like. It's a coordination system that you have inside, and you know what's good and wrong.
But it's
no
also
matter
taught
in
to
what
us.
kind of
Like it is taught. It's not.
Of
I don't
course,
think it's
yeah.
intrinsic. We're not born with like
No, of course,
right
it's
and
your
wrong.
No,
This
no,
is all
taught
social.
by your family and everything. But for example, I know it's wrong to lie, and I know it's right to tell the truth or whatever.
Yeah, but
And
then what's a
no matter
lie and
how
what's the truth?
Sometimes
I'm
you
more
can.
Monika.
Yes,
because I
come
believe
on.
that for some people they don't see it as lying themselves. So for you it's lying, but for them it's not.
You are a
according to
straightforward
whose standard?
person. You are very
Maybe, yes.
cut dry. Like
Maybe, yes.
black and white.
Yeah.
It's I know.
Maybe, yes.
I am like that as well, but I'm trying to be a bit more tolerant and try to put myself in their spot. And I can see how all these pressures on top of everything, like having a family, having to provide for your family, for a journalist could impact the way he does his work. So
Okay.
if all of them would quit their job and start their blog or whatever, then there would be no more. I mean, that's what's happening. Like true journalists
There
either
won't be any
write
more
shit,
true journalists,
they
yeah.
do stuffed stories, they do celebrity gossip and so on, or they do blogs like citizen journalism or whatever, and nobody reads those because, come on, what do we read? We read BBC, we read the Washington Post, we read Financial Times, New York Times, so on.
Because
So
that's
we only
easily
read those.
accessible. That's really easily accessible.
And because we trust them, because so many million people trust them.
In general, but it's a deceitful trust.
It is, but it's easier to believe what they're saying than to make up your own mind.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying, like, okay, fine, you choose, to stay there and to do your job in a way that still does not respond to the previous morals in a way that you have. But then I think that this person still has chosen to be demoralized, and we have to accept that. That's how. Because
Everything is
I don't.
a choice.
Yeah, because you said sometimes moral change according to that. I don't believe that. I don't think they do. I think that you can choose to be demoralized, and this could have good explanations and justifications behind, but you're still demoralized. And I mean, this has to be in my view, at least.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
I can only agree partially.
Okay.
No,
Also,
I'm not saying that you're wrong, but I can only
some aspects. I also thought people didn't change, but then I changed. I changed my opinions and my wants, my beliefs. So I said, if I change, then people change too.
But your opinions change. But do your really moral system change? Do you still like what you see as wrong as right? Does that really has changed in the last years, at least in the last? Because of course,
naivety comes
until 20 years,
here.
you kind of build up, your understanding of what is evil in this world and what is good. So kind of changes are normal. But after that, have you really at certain point, oh no, actually I thought that this is really bad, but now I actually see that it's not actually bad, or the other way around, I thought it's really good, but actually it's evil, or I mean, these things
I've learned how to be selfish somehow. That I did. So I did change a bit my morals, let's say. I used to say when I was young and foolish, I used to say like a woman without a child has failed, because that's her purpose, to be a mother. Okay. And now I'm 27 and I don't know if I want children. I don't know. I want to be selfish. I want to travel. I want to learn. I don't want to sit at home and depend on like put that person first and forget about me for a while, 20 years or so. And then I realized, how can I change so drastically? What happened? Like, did I see other people and how difficult it is for them to raise a child? Do I not want to raise a child in this world? I don't know what happened, but I changed. I changed my opinion, and it was a thing that actually mattered a lot, because my parents are divorced, so I come from a family that's been separated for a long time, and I was like, I want a family. That's like the most important thing for me. I didn't want a career. I didn't want to be someone. Now I'm like, my impact. I want that my impact to be bigger than just on 1-2 persons in my life. Mm-hmm. So if I want to do that, maybe I have to dedicate a lot more time to this dream of mine. So I should make a choice.
So what do you want?
But you don't know then whether you have changed or not. I mean, you can only say it by if you're 60, for example, when you don't have a child, and then maybe you would really consider you have failed.
I know there's
so
also...
we have to wait many years in order to see whether your real opinion before has changed or actually not.
I know I can adopt, even if I'm not going to have my own child.
When you're 60?
Not when I'm 60. I'm not going to wait until then. One thought that scares me is the fact that you're gonna be old at some point, and if you don't have a child, who's gonna look after you? Like, what's gonna happen to you? You have no one.
Is that no?
No, that's one of my fears. The other fear is if you can make a change in this world, one of them is by having a child, educating him, and providing guidance and leaving some legacy, Exactly. That's one way of doing.
In a way,
that's one way of doing things. So I might still want to do that. I just feel like I lost some time, and I need to catch up that time that I've lost, and I couldn't do that if I started a family right now, and I had to do that. So I hope that by the time I catch that time, it's not too late for me to actually have a family.
Okay.
Well, what exactly would you like to do?
Priorities.
Is it some NGO work?
No, not. It's.
I know the answer to that.
It's something creative. It's inspiring people. It's helping people. It's doing for others, not just for me. If I have a job, 9 to 5 job, 5 days a week, and I only go there for like my salary and in order to support my family or my travels or whatever, I wouldn't want to do that for more than 6 months.
Okay.
For me, like this job that I have right now, it's so tiring and stressful, and I don't feel like I have an impact. Like,
What do you do?
I organize. Yeah.
Yeah, but people don't know.
Yes, I'm a project manager, and I organize events. But I have to say the impact that these events have is much less than I thought it would be. So like we organize venture forums, and we bring investors and startups together. Now I worked on one bringing research projects in life sciences, in health, together with investors, and helping them improve their pitching skills, their product. They're looking for millions of euros of investments. We had very interesting projects. 9 of them. One of them was developing a vaccine against cancer.
Oh, that's
Yes,
really cool.
it's very interesting, and I was wondering why the investors weren't like throwing money at him, you know, because this is like, wow, if you can actually make a vaccine against cancer, which is the #1 disease killing people in the world, what else? We had other diseases as well, vaccines. We had complete blackout. For people, old people with dementia, we had like a technological kit that helps them, and the person that takes care of them reminds them to take pills, to blah blah. We also had losing weight / technological app that it's not about losing weight, it's about keeping the weight that you lost away, because 90% of people who lose
diet, they
weight, they gain it back. Yeah, so that was also interesting.
What goes wrong there? Because you bring those people together, but you don't sound like there is much financial
No, because
success
I
for
did
those
it in
people.
1 month. So I had to bring these people together in 1 month, and I had to find projects, I had to have investors, I had to find coaches, I had to do the program, I had to do a lot of things, and I was almost by myself in all these things. So I didn't get 15 projects, I only got 9. Of the 9, only 6 wanted to pitch, because research projects are very early stage, so they don't have actual results that they want to further commercialize. And what went wrong? Well, you invite investors to this type of events. You have them in your pipeline, okay? You send invitation to hundreds of people. And of those hundreds, some people will say yes, they're interested, but I don't know if they're interested in investing or they're just interested in coming, having a look, maybe testing the waters, but also the competition, because you have you have Bayer, and you have very big pharma companies coming here, and seeing research projects with our universities. They're small, they don't know how to commercialize, they don't know finance, they don't have a business plan. So they come, they buy out maybe if it's something really interesting and it's worth it. What
never
else?
hear from it again.
Well, we hope to hear some success stories, but I've been working there for 8-9 months, and I've only heard a couple of success stories, meaning like partnerships or actual investments. Basically, what they do get from this is coaching, and maybe some experience with pitching. Maybe some contacts that might help them at some point, but otherwise I think a lot of money goes into this, and I don't know if it's worth it in the end.
Are you in touch with those people who are pitching, like the project leaders or generators?
The
Are
ones
you
that
with them in contact over time, or do you just meet them for one event, for example, and then
we follow up with them immediately after the event, but I think we lose touch. I mean, we ask them to tell us if they have any success stories, if they were contacted by investors, if they signed a deal or not. If they do, I don't know if they're gonna get back to us. Follow-up is done primarily just after the event, so that we can get some quotes, so that some reactions, some feedback, so we can improve our next event, and also put them in the report.
Online.
And
Is it state funded then? It sounds like funded by.
I work on European Commission funded projects, but they also have private funding. So ICT mostly is private. AC projects.
What is ICT?
ICT, Information and Communication Technology. I've worked on in EC projects. I've worked on Build Interest, which is sustainable building materials. So new ways of building, new materials and so on that are a bit more ecological, let's say. Then I've worked on biolinks, which is for bio companies, biofuel, algae, every sustainable as well, so stuff like that, which is interesting, but at the same time not very profitable because people don't invest in biofuel and so on because they know it doesn't bring a lot of money. I've worked on this with pharma. I've also worked on Invite. Invite is open innovation. We are setting up a platform for knowledge providers and knowledge seekers, for example, to come together and to exchange and to create some synergies and so on. Open innovation, it sounds very vague, it's very general, and I don't know what's going on with that project at the moment because I'm no longer working on it.
So you're bringing people together, basically?
The main thing we do is create these events. So we organize events because we have a very big database of people. The database in itself should be updated because there are a lot of old emails. There are a lot of people who left their job, moved on, and so on. So in contacting so many people, not half, like a third of the emails we send come back as not sent because there was a problem.
But you still don't remove it from the distribution?
No.
Because in my job, I mean, when I see the of
because you send
person, you know.
you send 800 emails a day, and you don't have time to remove everyone that comes back and to search for a new contact and so on. I think they should do a better job because the database is basically
I did that
clean. I think they do, but also they hire a lot of interns, and interns are not very well trained. So when they come into contact with a new person, instead of searching to see if that person has already a profile in our database, they create a new profile and they create duplicates. And you have cases of one person having 5 profiles. Yes, and then different email addresses, different companies, and incomplete profiles and so on. So they should really work on that.
And so the whole investment field is still really, I'm looking for the proper expression, but it's not really taken seriously. I get that impression that they would try, but there's really not.
Easy projects, it's not very seriously taken.
When you look at the US, the business angels and incubators for business and Silicon Valley,
a lot bigger than Europe.
They throw money at everything, you know. And then in Europe, I wanted to.
We're lacking
business
behind.
atmosphere is different.
Because I had some money left over and I wanted to put it to crowd investment.
Yeah.
And I was looking long and hard to actually find a proper website or an organization that does it, and I found a German one.
Yeah.
But that's one of the few, and I believe half of Europe invest in that platform because there's so few. Yeah. And people don't want to invest. And I get the same idea from what you're saying.
I also saw some crowdfunding platforms at the event that I was last. But we're not interested in crowdfunding. We're interested in big investors.
Of course, but I mean generally in terms of investing capital.
There is less investment than there is in US or China, that's for sure. I mean, we're 3rd or 4th in the world when it comes to research and development and innovation. What I get the feeling is EC project is not as important because it only brings 1/3 or even less of the revenue.
EC project?
EC, European Commission funded project. So funding from the European Commission is, a couple of years ago, I think it was 400,000 euros the whole year.
That you could get?
That they got in funding.
Who?
My company, the company I work for. They got 3 times more from private funding. or from deals that they have. I don't know how, because I'm not good with financial stuff, and it's not my...
That money is for making the events, or do you also invest?
Paying people, no, we don't invest. We organize the events, we pay the people, we do the booking, the rooms, the staff, the
That's over 1 million
flights.
euro a year, though. That's a
More
lot
than
of money.
one. They made more than 1 million.
What do you do with that kind of money?
They organize around 30 events a year.
So many?
Yeah,
Oh
but
my
we have 3
God.
offices.
So
one is in Geneva, one in
Yeah,
Sofia,
no.
and one in Brussels.
So you spend
Yeah.
over 30,000 on one event.
And the
Rough number.
efficiency.
No, this one that I worked on, we spent 5,000 for the rooms, to rent the rooms. Then we spent for our travels, let's say 1,000 because, and then I don't know what else they paid for.
Okay,
Some
then the staff
posters
costs
and
a lot
blah.
of money.
Yes.
Even if you have 10
The
people, they
renting of
cost
the
over.
venue,
Yes.
yeah, I mean, all of that.
I don't know how much it cost in the end. I never did the budgeting part, so I don't know that. There are bigger events. Mine were 30, 50 people, not more. But there are events of 200.
Yeah.
And is there
300.
a return on investment, so to speak?
Is there a
Because,
return?
like we talked about earlier, if the people, there is some actual investing going on as well at those events, right? There's like a certain success rate that you have.
Well, there are some success stories apparently. I mean, from
What would you say, like, exactly? If you
It's
have,
hard to say which ones are from us and which are because these projects, these startups, they don't just go to tech tour events. They also go to other types of events where they meet others investors. We're not the only ones doing this. So what happened? Well, we track them on social media after some time from the first event, because these projects usually are 1, 2, 3 years maximum. So from the first event to the last, we track a little bit social media to see if they got investments, if they got some help, if they merged with another company, and so on. And we say it's also because of us that they managed to get it, because we help them improve their pitching skills, or we help them get to know people. Maybe they met someone at our event, and through that person they met someone else, and I don't know what.
No,
but it's
really
hard to say if
indirect,
if we actually did help them in getting.
Here is
There's
not
no
really
hard
provable.
data.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I wrote one report, and I was supposed to look at 10, 15 companies that participated and monitor their social media to see Twitter, Facebook, and so on. And you have like news. We're happy to say that this company received I don't know how much money. And then we would say like, yeah, this is a success stories for our event.
But actually, you're not sure that it's
Probably
a direct
not.
outcome of.
But at least you can use the
The
journalism
report looks
studies.
good, you
But
know.
I suppose that you wanted to ask whether, considering the money that are invested in these events, whether this amount is justified according to the outcomes,
Exactly,
or
because
whether it's like a balance thing, do you know? Because the investment
I was
actually
asked.
sounds.
I was asked
Because
at this.
You
put
put
1
a
million,
lot.
over 1 million euro into this, and if
And still,
let's say you have 30 events, and at half of the events actually there's investing going on at those 15 events.
We also have a membership apparently,
and let's
so we
say
have
that this 1
They
million,
invested-
where do they come from?
Yeah,
How the
from
European
the
Commission, gets them.
There were 400,000, and the rest is from private.
private funding, but
Okay.
they have
Yeah.
a membership
Funding.
fee as well apparently.
But also
so-
they want to know that
course
the
they-
money is being put to good use.
The
That's
European
what-
Commission
that's-
definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why you have to write the report, and you have this is for the Commission that I'm writing right now.
And the private ones even more, because it's their money. The commission doesn't
Yes.
give a shit because it's not their money.
They do, because you have some KPIs with like key point interests, and you write them in the proposal, and you have to actually do the stuff that you wrote in your proposal. So you have to check every box, otherwise the European Commission might just stop funding you at some point.
Of course, they have a certain standard, but
Yes.
what I mean is it's always easier to spend someone else's money
Yeah.
The
than
thing
the
is that
commission does.
the Commission
than the private one.
doesn't bear such a responsibility
No.
into the effectiveness of how the money are spent
There
as
is-
much as the private investors would bear the responsibility from their own pockets,
Probably.
their own businesses,
I mean-
and their everything. So the level of responsibility.
We
is
have
just
one European
different.
Commission person that's responsible for the project, and that person was there but didn't attend the events. He only went to the meeting with the partners.
Okay.
So that's how much they care.
To hear your impression. But the point that I was making is that if you have 30 events at 15 events, there are some investments going on, but in total it totals to, let's say, 200,000 euros then actually being invested through those events. Then I would say it's not the best return on investment, because you spend over 1.2 million, let's say, on 200,000 being invested.
We don't get money out of investments.
No,
in
not you.
companies,
No, but I say in general, as if it were a business thing, because then you could just take those 1.2 million and give it directly to those. But I'm not saying that this is the case. But that was what I was.
I don't see why these events actually exist practically. Of course, they have to have a place where investors and companies would meet. Yes. Yeah. So that's the idea in itself. It's good, but then why don't you make it something online? Why don't you make a platform where you can upload your pitch and investors can just like look at it and then contact you if they want to? I mean, that would be more effective, probably.
It is more accessible to people almost everywhere.
Yes, and you don't have to pay tickets, and you don't have to pay hotels, and you don't have to take a week off to prepare the pitch and fly and so on. I guess, but they have to have a business, you know.
Yeah. That's also
but
a
I
way
get a
of
similar impression
itself.
from other events in Brussels, because there's so much going on every day.
Yeah, but there are too many events. We cannot keep up.
There are too many events, and when you look at those events, most participants are people who get paid to go there, and actually they don't give a fuck, because they could be at this event or at 5 others to just sit there.
I was inviting people and investors, for example, and they said I could be interested, but only if you pay for my travel and my accommodation.
Yeah, they always say so,
okay, I can see that why they would ask for that, but at the same time, it's their interest to be there. I mean, we're organizing this for them.
Yeah,
for them it is. It's not for us, you know. But then you have people who don't want to come to these things. Like I invited almost 400 projects. I don't know if all my invitations went through, but out of the 400, 3 actually wanted to come.
No.
Yes, and 6 others were from the tech transfer offices that contacted them directly because they already had them in their pipeline.
They're the ones that want the money, right?
They either don't know about us, don't trust us, don't have the funds to travel and to pay for everything. I had that as a response. We don't have the money right now to do this. They were busy. They're not that advanced with their research. I mean, this is for research projects, so you have to bear in mind it's different than for companies. Universities mostly. They are research people that don't know business. All they know is research. They don't know how to make a presentations. We had people coming in with 20 slides full of information to present in 7 minutes, because that's the time to pitch. 7 minutes plus 8 minutes feedback. And they were reading off the PowerPoint presentations. They didn't even know their product. They didn't know their business model. So they need coaching for this. They need help with commercialization. So we also organized a workshop, which actually was much more, people were more interested in the workshops than in the pitching sessions to the investors. We had 9 projects in the workshop and 6 pitching.
Because you were trying to teach them Hamlet while they were learning to read, right?
Probably, yeah. I got that impression. Some of them actually told me that this is really good. Like I didn't know this. You know, they didn't know about different types of funding and how to get funding, and about intellectual property rights and what it means to apply for a patent.
It's nothing that gets you taught in school. I'm lucky because I went to business school. That's why I know some stuff.
But then if
they don't teach you anything practical.
They're chemists. They're biologists.
Yeah.
They don't know this
stuff. You learn
stuff.
humanities. You learn basic principles. They don't teach you about taxes. They don't teach you about
that's true.
what the value-added tax is. But if you say it's research projects, then it's more academic in a way, right? And it's not really business. It doesn't sound like to me a full-fledged business.
No, but these were
That's why
projects.
I'm confused, you know, because I thought it's business. Then we say that they don't know this stuff. They're research.
These were research projects that got funding under H 2020 and FP7, and our project, its main purpose is to help these projects to further valorize their results. So when their money from the European Commission finished, we help them to find private investors that want to help them to further develop it. Because the money from the European institutions only gets you to first
level,
phase of trial,
First
and then
start,
you have like then you have like 2-3 phases more to go through. I mean, you tested it on mice. Next, you need to test it on rabbits, and then you can start testing on people. So it's not enough. They only got like a starting point, let's say. And with companies, it's different. Companies are more advanced. Companies have a business model, have ideas. They know what doing business means. They have experience as well because they're already in the market. These are not. These are very early stage, like from the ones that I saw. And I got a lot of responses as well from research projects saying we're not that advanced. We cannot come. We don't have anything to show for.
So basically
I'm
your
also
target
thinking,
group, the targeting of your audience wasn't that proficient, you know.
no,
so.
but they need help. I mean, I see why they don't want to come, because they need much more coaching, they need much more funding, they need much more help.
Okay.
You don't coach them though. I don't know.
We had coaches, we had trainers for the workshops, and we had a dry pitch. That's where.
And you said that this was much more interesting.
Much more interesting. We had 3 topics. One was IP management. One was funding opportunities, public funding, private funding. And the other one was commercialization routes. We said we had experts, but having only 1 month to organize it. My supervisor, he had spoken to some people, but like 2 months ago, 3 months ago, in the meantime, people had other plans. So in the end, we ended up asking from our own circle, from our partners, from the tech transfer offices to come. We promised the projects that there were going to be experts on IP, experts on funding, and then, when one of them was presenting, she got a question. She didn't know how to answer to that question, and she said, I'm not an expert on this. And I was like, oh my god.
Oh snap.
Yes, I felt very bad because we promised them something, but anyway, it was still informative to them. I do think they learned a lot, but I would have wanted to have much more experienced people presenting those things.
Why were you so late then with the whole, I mean, what was the reason?
Because EC project is not a priority for them, because we have 3 or 4 people dealing with DC projects, but they're in Sofia, and they organized the first workshop. Now the second workshop should have been, I think, organized in Brussels, but they've been moving their office slowly to Sofia, so they are only 4 people now working there with 3 interns. Of the 4 people, 3 of them are dealing with ICT, deep tech, blah, blah, something else. One of them should be dealing with DC projects, but at the same time, he's dealing with writing proposals, writing tenders. He's doing a lot of things at the same time. So they told me, after I finished my traineeship with them, I thought it was over, but then they called me 1 month later. Do you want to come help us with this because you worked on it before, and we need someone very fast. We don't want to hire someone just like that. We want to
have the availability.
Yes. So I said yes, but they said, it's going to be easy. We don't have to do much, and so
on. 1 month organizing.
I started working on it 27 of August, but I was waiting for the tech transfer offices, which were our partners, which were supposed to filter the projects so that we only target the ones that are advanced. So we were waiting for their evaluations. We were waiting to see which projects are in their pipeline, which projects they're gonna contact, and which projects we can contact. The tech transfer offices, August is the month to go on vacation, so everyone was away. So I had
the middle of September,
at least 2 weeks. Yes, around 2 weeks. I couldn't do much. So I had started working on the invitation, working on and this and that. But then I had to gather email addresses for 400 contacts on Google. I mean, that was my only option, and of course half of them probably were wrong. Some of them I contacted them through Cordis, which is the European Commission platform for research projects that received funding from FP7 and H2020. And there you have the description of the project and the partners in the project, and you have about 10 partners, 5 partners, it depends, it's a very big, from different countries, so like, I don't know why it works like that, but you have one university from Germany, one from Bulgaria, one pharmacy from I don't know which country. How they work together, I have no idea, but then what we did was contact the coordinator of the project through the platform and then tell him to further send it to the person that is in charge of results, because you don't know which of the partners is in charge of results and which partners should come and present. So I think that was where it went wrong, because a lot of invitations didn't reach their target.
Yeah, they didn't reach it. Oh God.
And what's the proportion between coachings? You did it once, but usually you do those events where people meet.
There's always a coaching session. That's the dry run pitching session where, we offer them a template. They create their presentation and they come and they pitch it. And then they receive feedback from the coaches. Sorry. And that feedback they take. They improve their presentation for the actual pitching session, which is the next day with actual investors. But the training was something else, the workshop.
Oh, fair enough. Because I wanted to suggest, have you thought about doing a webinar or video casts for certain things where they would be an expert?
We did webinars. I also organized one webinar, which was a failure actually.
I wanted to sell a service now.
Yes, exactly.
I received that as also a feedback from one of the trainers. They said, instead of sending emails to organize webinars, we could use this actually, but I'm not gonna work there in a week.
Very subtle. Wait. Yes. It's not sharp, but it's there.
I think you would do a better job than I did organizing my first webinar, which had 16 people registering to attend, but in the end only 3 actually logged in for the webinar. Out of 16.
Wow. Yeah.
Yes. And then
But webinars are fucked
3
up.
or 4, and then one of them actually left after 5 minutes. So it was either boring or I don't know what happened.
I actually don't like webinars as much. I like when it's available no matter when you want to watch it. Because a webinar, it's so available that you always sign up because you think I can do it anyway.
Yes.
And then you're like, okay, but it's Friday night actually.
Exactly.
And it doesn't matter if you don't attend or not. Like there's no impact actually, so you feel you
There's
can
no
skip
push
it.
really to stick to yours.
But then you lose the interactive side if you don't have a webinar and you have a recorded session. You cannot answer questions and stuff. But I do think webinars are good if the person or persons that are actually presenting are very good in what they're doing, if the topic is well done as well, if there's time enough to get people, and if you actually stress this is happening in 2 days, this is happening in 1 day,
So
this is happening in 10 minutes.
And it might help actually to have a limited amount of people that can participate.
Yeah.
Maybe it's different if there are only 5 people that can actually participate, and then you get a message, okay, now it's online, and okay, really come online because you have a limited seat.
Okay, so
Or if you, there are paid webinars, so you can actually pay for them, and then I think a paid webinar has a lot more success than a non-paid one.
Definitely.
If you pay for it, you're gonna attend it for sure.
You can even offer people money back if they're not satisfied.
Yeah.
And I believe most
And I don't
people
think
would
a lot of people would come
claim
back
it
for
back.
their money. Yeah. They wouldn't, I guess.
And I mean also
And
there's
they're
the
not
pressure.
Bulgarians.
Do you do webinars? Do you organize webinars?
Well, we can do it.
But
We can do it. We can do live streaming.
From terms of technical sides, definitely. I mean, organizing it, we haven't had so
And
far.
online teaching, I see it really as an online teaching thing where you have a good lesson that people can access in a platform, for example. And I'm talking generally, not pitching my service now or our service in this case.
Not about it, but it's definitely a very good opportunity. I mean, it's more accessible and it's
accessible. You can learn wherever you are.
Yeah, but it really depends on what Monika mentioned, that you really need to have someone who is a very good speaker, a very good one, and in a very interesting topic. And this is unfortunately what I also have noticed, that many times, I mean, it's not easy at all, of course, to be a good speaker. This is an exceptional skill skill actually.
I attended a webinar just on this topic, how to speak in public, how to modulate your voice, and
you need knowledge first, then you need self-control, then you need practice in order really to get it out there and to be able to do it automatically. And unfortunately there are many interesting topics, and people who actually have interesting stuff to share but do it so unknowingly somehow, so repetitively, so really, I mean, unattractively.
I mean, you can talk bullshit, but if you believe it and you know how to say it, people will actually believe as well.
Exactly.
So the opposite is also available.
Not the science behind, not the content behind, but the art of being able to say it, in an attractive way and in a way that really keeps interest. And this is also, I mean, a bit on the side, not exactly on top of it, but this is also proven by this guy with the paintings that you showed me, who many people actually, watch because his voice and the way that he
the guy that that paints and talks at the same time.
Exactly, and it turned out many people watch it really not because they're interested to know exactly how he paints, but because his voice and the way he explains it, he talks all the time.
Sounds like a fairy tale the way he speaks.
Exactly. It's so calming and so relaxing. So. Actually, this matters the most, and people then will watch your video even if they're not interested into what you're doing.
There is a science behind it, and oratorics or something. You gotta have inflection. You don't have to have a flat line because people get bored. You have to do so many things. Pay attention to reactions from the public. If you see that people are bored or whatever, change something.
Well, not many people in Brussels have received that lesson because European Commission even was speaking there. He was so unbelievably boring.
But that's always. I mean, the people from the institutions are so boring.
And they make it easy actually to tune them out because they speak like that all the time and it goes on for 15 minutes.
I hate flatline.
And you can just turn it off because you sit there and you can even look at them while they're talking. You won't remember a thing. Even I can remember him standing there. I can't remember a thing.
It happens
to me many times. I have had problems after that writing my reports after some events because I really have to there was this guy, but what was he saying? I listened to him for 1 hour. I mean, what was he saying? And I can't at all.
It's also something you can learn, but I think you have to have it. You have to have the confidence. You have to have it in yourself to speak in front of people.
It's easy if you have the confidence. This as well you can learn, I believe, but through many trials and errors, and and you're just not giving up. I mean, it's much easier, I think, if you have the confidence to really learn the tactics exactly of how your voice should sound and but the truth be told, I think that even psychologically I have read that this is one of the biggest fears of people. I mean, speaking in public. I think it was something drastic, something like the biggest fear was drowning or something like that. I don't want to completely be mistaken. It was some research that I read, into what's the biggest fears of human beings, and drowning, let's say, was the first one. It was something reasonable, and then the second one was public speaking.
I totally agree.
I mean,
I believe so.
Try it.
Explain.
Because most people have, at maximum, the chance to speak in public once or twice, let's say in a year.
15 minutes of...
And those 1 or 2 times, of course, you're going to be frightened, you're going to fuck up.
It is about
you're going to be nervous. And if you do it more often, you're not scared of it anymore. And just most people don't
just
have the
imagine the public naked.
Or that.
But there's really this
Hopefully it's not a kindergarten.
Jesus.
It's a joke.
Okay, it's a joke. We have to say that.
Jesus is also a right thing to say in connection with that. Or Catholic Church, I can be more specific.
Jesus.
No, but there's a disconnect between the audience and the speakers very often.
Often.
And that's sad to see because nobody cares. People are just there because they're getting paid to be there. And then something is going wrong.
That's why a part of the job of the speaker to a certain extent is actually making the others care.
But there's no feedback. That's what I'm getting at. But there's no feedback loop.
But you see it. You see it if a public in front of you is completely dead.
Verbal feedback.
But that's not their line of success. they don't measure in audience engagement. For them, it's important that you were there.
Yes.
Okay.
You got
How
the
many
points
people
across.
came?
You read.
Taking some good pictures of
read
the
the
public,
notes.
of the presenter.
But it means it's not also the
You read your standpoint. You read your
don't have
commission
integrity in their
standpoint.
speeches.
You read the standpoint
Yeah.
that was agreed upon in your office. That's it.
Yeah,
That's the only measure.
yeah,
If anyone remembers what you said, nobody cares.
yeah, well,
That's what I think that it's a shame that a lot of these events don't have any follow-up. They don't actually have any results. I'm not talking
good to
about
say.
what we're doing right now. Like yesterday I went to a conference about education in Romania, about how education could change Romania. And it was very interesting. We had a person that was a speaker, like the speaker for the Minister of Education 2 years ago, but now she's not a professor, but she works for the University of Bucharest, where I studied. And she's there for like some politics, orientation, strategy stuff. And it was very interesting. She showed us what the problems are in education in Romania, where we could improve it, how much corruption is even in the education system. But in the end, I asked, are you recording this? Because there was a lady taking pictures. What are you doing with this? Because this was a very fruitful discussion we had. We had people in the audience that were professors for 20 years that were telling us their experience. One of the guys, he said in 20 years of working in education, he never saw one transparent, correct competition for the position of either director of a school or professor or a university professor or so on.
Yeah.
So like it's all of them are arranged. By ministers, by politicians and so on. And they said, no, we didn't record it. We took some pictures. We're gonna maybe post a small video, but this took like 2 hours. It's just too long to put online and so on. The only thing that happened is that the lady who spoke from the University of Bucharest, she took some notes. But what she does with those notes, I don't know.
You can record it, you can break it into topics, you can make an interactive video where
It's
you
too
immediately
much hard
go
work for them, I guess.
into these 20 minutes that has been spoken exactly about directors, for example, and their
Also, it's such a broad topic.
You
Like
can
2 hours is not enough to discuss about the whole education system. And I asked future events, and they said, "Oh, don't worry, future events are going to be on different topics." And I said, "No, it should have been on this topic. I mean, you started something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why would you start this and do nothing with it? I mean, was it just to bring people so they're trying to get signatures for this campaign? They need 100,000 signatures to go into parliament. It's called New People in Politics. We want new people because we've been led by the same people for 30 years now, since the fall of communism. So they're trying to get signatures. They're organizing these events, I guess, for people to show up and get signatures, to get some money, because there was a box of donations over there. This is called Row 100 Brussels. So they have different agencies around Europe, and they are trying to get people from outside of Romanians to get represented, because right now diaspora, which is Romanians from all over the world, but not from Romania, represented in the parliament, because right now we have 6 seats only for the people outside, and we're 4 million or 5 million Romanians outside of the country. So that's a quarter of the population, if not more, because right now there are 18, 19 million in Romania and 5 outside.
20. Okay, yeah.
No.
Okay.
So it's interesting what they're trying to do, but I think they're only like using the money to organize. This is what I feel. It feels like money laundering for me. It's like they receive some money, they organize some events, some money might slip here and there through the cracks, and then there's no follow-up. This is with easy projects. Exactly, and everything gets lost. That's what I did with media literacy when I worked at ICAS. I was actually studying process, and the overall conclusion was there is no follow-up. Every result is lost because nobody wants to connect these projects somehow. In different countries, there's no umbrella organization, and we wanted to create one, but it was difficult. We were new in the market with media literacy, so we couldn't do that.
What you're saying, follow-up is so important.
It is.
And it's completely underrated.
It is totally.
It's from what I can tell after 2 years here.
Yeah.
People gather with each new event. With each new event, they pretend to look for solutions. They talk about solutions, but they go right out of the door and they never touch it again.
Absolutely.
They say, okay, today we're gonna talk about. Let's say I'm imagining this hunger in Africa. Today we will talk about solutions. 2 hours later, okay, bye.
Yeah.
Okay, Africa. Woo,
I had
Next topic, you
and
know.
it was global hunger on the Eurochild conference here in Brussels several months ago. We had workshops that were like a 2-hour workshop, and then for 15 minutes you present your solutions. I mean, this is what we did, and then nothing.
Then if you meet them
and
2
we
months,
work with them, so I know they're working it.
Yeah.
Nothing. I mean, it was global hunger, which actually very much because Eurochild. I mean, yeah, it's protecting child, of course, rights and everything. But the topic, I said, okay, like, but the workshop for 2 hours to think of a solution of global hunger. Of course, we went into philosophical questions, history, whatever. In the end, we presented 2 or 3 things which were. I can't remember, but it was good. It was actually good. Yeah, because people were. I mean, they were okay, but.
But what if you went to them now and asked them, okay, what came out of that?
Yeah.
What out of all your speeches and your great talks, okay, what was the bottom line? Was there anything tangible?
I can tell you what, for example, Eurochild will say, because then I found out that this is like, they would say, oh, we actually got contacts with people that were very much, dedicated into thinking about problems that affect us all, and on the basis of that, now we
Very
created
diplomatic.
an advocacy strategy that will actually try to defend the rights of children without exclusion and with complete inclusion, regardless of their socio-economic status or their geographical background. For example, this will be
That's
exactly.
very vague.
Yeah, this is
yeah.
exactly the answer that they.
So they incorporate the feedback they received into their future policy.
Exactly.
Or advocacy plan.
Which in general is no solution at all, and it's very.
The policy being
exclusive,
making more
because,
events, talking more.
I think that
Because who
there
cares
are
whether
too
you
many
did a
events,
advocacy
definitely.
plan for
Too
your
many
country.
events. We have this problem right now. There are too many events. People have lost interest in participating in this kind of events because they're going to other events or similar ones or I don't know what. But then why not make agencies that the sole purpose of that agency is to go to all events around the world on the same topic, get feedback and try to connect it somehow. And to fight it. I mean, I don't see the purpose. Like I said, it's just like starting something. You start a conversation, that's good. But then what?
Better idea at all to have like.
I don't know if it's feasible. I
An
mean,
agency that goes really around the world and then all the
collect ideas, but then if you
local
have like,
information, for example, 5 years on education, but a bit more narrowly, of course, not a bit more narrowly formulated the topic, but that's actually
There's
a cool thing.
There is
cool idea.
an NGO who does nothing but rate other NGOs, and this is what started by some American guy. I heard it on some podcast, but this guy actually made a list of NGOs and rated them very strictly, and he has like a list. You have to Google it, but of really the best NGOs that do actually the most practical things.
Yeah.
And this is a very good approach, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because he only recommends you those projects that actually do things on the ground.
yeah, but it is not doing what I said to do.
I know, no, it just came to my mind because I had the association.
I see.
Yes.
So yeah,
What you
but
said, it's
they
actually very,
need.
I mean, it's just that it's very. It will require a lot of expenses. Traveling, for
does.
example. Yeah, today I'm here and I have
Not
to go from this
just
country
the
to
traveling
this, and
part.
then-
I don't think it's the most
Yeah.
expensive. It's the actual putting into practice.
Yeah.
Part.
Putting into practice.
Because you get ideas and then you have to brainstorm and to try to connect them together and try to develop a plan and then implement that plan somehow.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what the European Commission should do with the money that they
Yeah,
give,
right,
the funding
yes.
that they get.
Exactly.
Give to other agencies because it doesn't have time to do projects by itself. So it funds other agencies that do
And
this.
how could not follow up on what is the outcome of it? What is the effective, really, outcome
I
of
don't
it?
know. I said said,
obviously a
it's money laundering.
responsibility.
It's
It's a
just
responsibility
they
there.
have an amount of
Funding
money.
parties.
They have to spend it so that the money circulates, but they don't care about the results, because if things get
it's money
better,
laundering, as
then
you
they
said.
don't have the cycle anymore. They
Yeah.
don't have to give
Yeah,
the money
exactly,
anymore. There's no more
exactly.
money to actually launder if things go
Exactly.
better. So I
Yeah.
guess for them it's just status quo, but make it seem like you're doing something.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the paradox of some NGOs and some activism, because you actually can only exist in your professional life if the problem
True. That's one of
stays
the.
there.
Yep.
That's the problem that I have with feminism and gender equality, because there is actual gender equality in Europe, but you have to keep inventing problems to make yourself be relevant.
Yeah.
Today I read that now they found that,
Manspreading. Have you heard about
Yes.
the manspreading thing?
have you heard of sexual discrimination?
In which
It's because they were actually checking on dating apps how people, who they were attracted to, and they found that people usually had an in-group preference, and that, for example, black women were more likely to be attracted to white guys, but the white people generally were more sticking to themselves. Other groups as well, but they made the study case that actually that people have a sexual discriminatory bias. And now they were looking for ways of how they could make people choose other people they're not actually attracted to.
Oh, why?
And that's
do you
how,
need
but that's
to-
how far it goes,
Yes,
you
that's
know.
how
Yeah.
far it
And this
goes.
is only one of many examples. I mean, really, this whole gender equality stuff, it gets injected into everything. And in my opinion, it's just that some people who have useless degrees can keep their jobs.
But it's not only the gender; it's exactly
It's
the
the most
approach of
prominent that
yes,
came out
it's the
from my
most
mind.
prominent, absolutely. But that's exactly the approach actually behind the NGOs, and what I really don't also. But, I understand the logic, you know, but the thing is that isn't it in the end that NGOs shouldn't be the ultimate goal actually for them not to exist? Isn't that what the ultimate goal logically should really be? Because
Morally,
the
not
problem
logically. Logically,
morally,
they need a
okay,
job and they need a
morally,
mission.
Actually, I'm mixing up here, but yes, exactly. Morally, it should be because you're a problem
Yeah,
solver.
that's what they're
problem,
advocating
and then
for,
it's
you know,
like,
solving a problem.
You solve a problem, you fill a gap between citizens and state, and so actually your idea should be really these problems to be solved, and then not to have a reason in this world to exist. So, I mean,
How do you do? What
But
do
the
they
thing,
do then?
Good intentions don't need good outcomes. Look at the development
Yes,
aid,
exactly,
which is
but-
one of those things, you know. Like how long, for over 50 years, food has been given to Africa, for example,
Yeah.
and it hasn't gotten better. All that happened is that the fertility rate has increased, but people are still starving, and there's still those events, and there's no outcome, because in a way you give food no matter what's happening on the ground, and instead of people becoming wiser and saying, okay, we need to have less children, for example,
It's like
you know, you enable the problem in a way, but you mean well by wanting to help, but your help is actually causing problems as well.
It's just saying that says, give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish and he'll feed himself for
Exactly.
life.
and it's
So
exactly
what we're
how it
doing
should be.
with Africa is like we're keeping them dependent on us
Yes.
instead of actually teaching them how
Yes.
to create an economy.
Enabling them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's, and it's okay, good intentions, but it's a
That's just, yeah. And
it's a
that's
twisted
how
game, and
I
it's
guess
morally it's very compromised for me, and it's I don't know. I mean, yeah,
bottom
good
line-
intentions could be also, you know, like you're a parent, and I would never let Theo, you know, to run at all, you know, because my good intentions is him never to get hurt, but then at the same time, like he will become a vegetable, you know, always next to me. I mean,
of course you have to push you're making a good point, but that's also my bottom line, that it's not easy to find an actual way to help someone. The same when someone is begging, but who is also addicted to alcohol. So what happens if you give that person money?
You know.
Exactly, that's what I'm doing.
But then he's
because I know-
starving at the same
but
time.
that's the thing, you know, because you know this person will most likely spend 9 out of 10 euros, don't quote me on that, on alcohol, unfortunately. Because he's also stuck in that loop. But then how do you help that
We
person?
do have a lot of prejudice in here as well, because maybe he drinks because he doesn't have a job. So maybe if he would have enough money, he would get himself a haircut and a set of clothes, and then he would go to an interview, and then maybe he would get a job. I mean, there are cases. I don't know. It's easy to give up and to become an alcoholic, but I don't think they all chose that, and they wouldn't want to get out of it.
No, that's not what I'm
course,
saying.
yeah.
But what I'm saying is that even what you want to do is well intended, the outcome of your actions is actually detrimental to that person.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yes. No.
I mean, because if it were that
yeah.
easy, then I don't believe there would be many homeless people.
Yeah. No, it is true. Yeah. It's just a paradox. Again. Of wanting to help and doing more harm.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
And the other way around, I guess.
Because you really should
The
be able
road
to
to
enable the
intentions is
person
paved
to
with-
help. You should really enable the person
The way
to
to
help
heaven might be
himself,
paved with some
that's the
bad-
thing. You should enable the person to help himself, and this is
Exactly.
actually what can bring
But
us
that's
back
so
to
difficult.
psychotherapy and
It's so
to
difficult.
going to the psychologist.
But that
She
means,
should
yeah.
be able to
You lose control of a
make
group if you
come to the
make it
conclusions
independent.
and to the solutions to your,
This is what they're doing to Romanians right now. They're actually taking money from research and giving it to the churches to build the whole cathedral and whatever. They don't want us to be smart because then we would know what our rights, we would be independent and so on. We wouldn't need them that much and we would actually take some action against them. So I believe morals and morality doesn't have a lot of space in our society anymore.
No, it's definitely not something that's profitable to you. In most of the cases, it's actually a challenge. I mean, if you apply your morals, if you try to apply your morals on daily basis, your life would be extremely difficult. Extremely. Yeah. That's the problem. We don't live in a society where actually having morals brings you from A to B. I mean, something else brings you from A to B, you know? Like, I don't know.
Morals keep you from getting from A to B, I mean, many times.
Exactly. And that's why people easily give up on that, on the principles they have, on the morals. And and on some principles in morals, it's easy to give up for comfort, money, success, or whatever.
I think that's what they did.
But on some others, it's not that easy. And you do it, and then in several years you get a sickness and
you lose your soul somehow.
You lose yourself and your soul, and this impacts your body as well. This impacts the people around you.
But you know what I think? Lately I have started believing a lot on karma. So I believe, because I was looking around and I was seeing these nasty people being happy, having everything that they want in terms of money, relationships, friends, private jets, and so on. How does that happen? How can they live with themselves, and how come bad things don't happen to them? Because they're bad people. Then I started thinking that if there's no God, let's say, then whatever you do, your actions reflect on the way you feel about yourself. But if you don't have a conscience anymore. So you don't care about doing bad to others, or you just block that side of things, and then you only see the good, which is personal, which is comfort and riches and so on. Then you attract positive things because you don't have any negativity in your life. And good things happen to you. If you're a person with morals, who has a consciousness and doesn't like hurting people, but did something wrong, feels guilty, then bad things might happen to you still because you attract them. You have a negative
I disagree, because pain is not always a bad thing. Experiencing pain, looking at pain, and actually going through tough situations and seeing others suffering, it does not, I mean, no, it sounds very brutal, because it does, of course.
You're talking about the outcome of pain, but nobody wants pain.
Yes.
I mean, pain is a bad thing, but the outcome is a good thing from pain many times. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but...
So why going through that would actually, like, put negativity? I mean, actually, you could, in a very cliche way, you can really get stronger. You can really actually learn.
But that's how you look at pain. So again, it's how you feel about something. If you feel that pain is something positive, then maybe good thing will happen to you. But if you feel that it's negative...
This is a very paradoxical thing, because, okay, you feel like pain is something positive, but at the same time, it's like some of my relatives die. I mean, no matter how much I feel like pain is something positive, it's
death is normal, of course. If it happens sooner,
or
then
if you break up with your boyfriend or whatever, but that doesn't mean that, I mean, you still feel like shit. You can even go through, I've told you that story when we separated with Matthias and that I was smoking and like drinking like shit, and I turned for like several weeks into a complete, like really like non-person, vegetable. And then I just looked at myself at the mirror and I said, come on, who are you? I mean, this is not you, and nobody would actually like to be with you if you're in such a state. So first thing that I did is just teach myself to ride a bike. This was something that
Positive.
But I did not attract negativity by being, for those 2 weeks, in a bad
No, you
state.
fed your negativity by keeping yourself in that state until you took a positive decision that changed your outcome.
Yeah.
Yes, I understand.
But
my
or maybe I didn't touch exactly on your.
Well, I was just wondering how bad people can live with themselves and how disasters don't happen to them.
Nothing looks the way that it is, by the way. I mean, they do, believe me. Some people don't really have conscience, then don't have this voice inside that tells them, oh my God, how can I like wake up tomorrow knowing what I did yesterday? Many people don't have it, and I don't know what's the explanation, the devil or whatever. I mean, people find different ways to explain that, but not everything looks the way that it is. Even those people, they might seem, all the jets and everything, many of them are empty on the inside, and this will have its impact.
I guess they're feeding their emptiness with more money, more
you see Steve Jobs, or who was on his death row when he said, that actually, okay, I've created, the biggest companies, I have done everything, and just right now I wish that I had a bit more time to hold the hand of my child or something. I mean, it comes to you, this emptiness that you like create inside, no matter with how many beautiful items you fill it.
I'd like to think as well.
It really does. It really does.
I would have to take an interview of a very rich person to see if it actually feels bad to be that rich.
Well, it certainly doesn't feel bad.
No, it doesn't feel bad.
But I believe that for some people it's just that they find the thing that enables them to be bad, and then they don't mind that much. And I believe religion does one of those things. That's why I'm against religion, and specifically against some religions.
Okay.
Because
they find a justification.
They enable the worst in people and give them a good reason to be bad.
Okay. Yeah.
They tell you, okay, this person is less worth than you are because they believe in something else, so you can.
Definitely.
It's okay to be violent against them, and I believe that's just an enabling in a way the badness, and I believe most people have a sort of badness.
No.
In them, but that's again to morality, right? Okay. If you have morality, you hold yourself to higher standard. Yeah. But if there's something that enables you to be bad, like if you tell yourself, I guess if you just want to be rich no matter the price, then you don't feel bad about it because that enables you to be bad.
And somebody tells you, this is the smart thing to do in this world. After all, we should all take care, of ourselves. This is our prime idea. This is our prime purpose. This is how the world works. You see this person, he's doing the same, and that's actually very, very, very accurate psychologically. I mean, you kind of start not feeling guilty about going to that level, lower and lower. You find means in order to convince yourself innerly that what you do is not that, bad.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then of course if there the good sides to it, which is the private jet, the plane and the nice dinners, it's much easier to convince yourself as well.
And there's another factor is that also bad people have an advantage over good people. Because a good person only has morally good actions to his availability, but a bad person can do bad things and good things. Yeah. So the bad person has always a sort of strategic advantage, if you can put it like that, and that's why I believe there will be always some bad people. Just because a moral person has to be moral.
Absolutely, and there is another thing is that somehow time works good for bad people and much harder for good people, because compare it, how much time it takes you actually to do something good really, and how much time it takes you to do something bad.
Definitely.
Take a flower, how much time does it take you actually to provide the whole environment for
to grow a flower and then
how
to
much
pluck
does it? Just like that. And
there was the saying, if you like the
time
flower,
works with evilness actually, and not with goodness. I mean, if I have to put it in a simple terms, it's just that, like, far less time you need to do something really bad than to build up something that has really goodness inside.
And yet you need both. Because
And
if
yet
there's no
we
destruction,
both.
then there can't be growth.
Absolutely, yeah. Or there.
That's why we have both good and bad in us, and I guess it's the part that we feed the most. That's the
Yeah.
dominant side of us.
But you need to also face the other one. I think I don't know. You should not. You should not repress
Ignore it, yeah.
You should not. No. If you're able to keep it only to the level of your thoughts. Okay, because somebody said, especially the religion as well.
Yes,
you can't
thoughts are
think
bad.
Even that
Yeah,
thoughts are
yeah.
bad and blah.
But if you not control your own thoughts,
That's
I
not
mean,
absolutely. I mean, yeah, you can't.
Actually
to such
read
an
a study
extent.
about
you
it, and
can't
it-
to such an extent. To some you can, but to such a deep
it
extent.
said that it's
because
good to
who you
have
are.
bad thoughts. I mean,
It
you
is
have to
who
get
you
them
are.
out of your head
Exactly.
because they're there. So it's
Exactly.
okay to have them. Acting on them is a different choice.
Exactly.
There comes choice, but I don't think thinking them actually requires choice on your behalf.
Can I, in connection to that, very much ask something that I think we watched it with you on a documentary, and it puzzles me still as as a legal case, but it's very much connected to your thoughts and your actions actually. So there is this in the following situation. Let me switch so that So there is the following situation. A guy in the U.S. is newly married. They have like a child, like a baby, several months old, and he is on the surface everything good, like good family. He's a very nice guy. He has a job, everything normal with the wife there, getting along, and yeah, always good. And then at certain points, the wife discovers, like he's always on the computer. She goes to bed with the baby, so he stays like for 2-3 hours, like chatting with friends or whatever. So at certain point, she discovers that her husband for 2 years had been going on the dark web and entering chats with other people where they have been exchanging most brutal scenarios of killing people, dismembering their bodies, eating their bodies, everything, but planning. I mean, description. He's chatting with other people. They are like, okay, then we have to do it next month. We need blah blah blah. We prepare. Yes, I. He was even sending photos of girlfriends that he had, like girlfriends of hers as well. They're together at home. He was saying, "Oh, this woman, for example, I would chop off her arm and I will make her scream like so bad." And he's describing all of this. And there was even like some sort of preparation, which was that he did indeed buy certain items like a duct tape, like some rope. He had bought one rope or whatever, but at the same time, she discovers all of this. She discovers that he has been engaged with such conversations and very detailed dialogues for 3 years. So she of course contacts the police, and then the case starts, and it's a very puzzling legal case because the same time, like on one side, he seems that he's really involved to a high degree in the planning. He has bought some stuff, but at the same time, he hasn't done anything.
Yeah, you
yet,
cannot trial him for something he hasn't done yet.
Exactly. Kind of,
He spoke
but the
to
thing
people
is that
on
it
the
was
dark
very
web.
like 2 years.
He could have spoken this to a psychologist. It's the same scenario, basically. I mean,
No, that's what, because they were asking him exactly such questions. Why didn't you turn to professional help? Why didn't you go to therapy and everything? He said it's not
Judgment.
enough for me.
Okay.
I have to really pretend, That's why I wanted to mention it about the thoughts and the bad thoughts and like the line between thoughts and action. And he claimed that I don't know whether I trust him. Of course.
Can you charge him with bad thoughts and planning?
No, you can go charge him for some form of
Conspiracy.
Conspiracy to murder somebody, and this is exactly on the basis of how further the preparation was.
Because it's not murder attempt, since
Exactly,
he never
it's
attempted.
conspiracy to murder somebody. They didn't charge him in the end. They didn't. But he was explaining exactly this. It's so strong that I have found a way to kind of relieve, those thoughts and everything. And I need an authentic
he
way.
needed help
An
psychologically, probably, but not go to jail for that. I mean,
No, they did not.
I would have left him if I was the wife. I would have definitely left him. But
they had two experts, they two psychologists who were defending on the side. No, you should trial him. Because it's like he bought some stuff, he was describing
Okay.
it, he made like meetings, but he
I don't
actually
see
didn't go to the meetings. And the others were saying, no, you should not. We are all allowed, to have our fantasies and to.
Like, I can write a fiction novel and describe a murder scene in my novel and to be inspired from my own life and desires.
But he did it in secrecy. He was sending photos of real people and saying, people that he knows and planning with this other
But would
guys,
he have acted upon it? That you never know.
Question. That's the question. And here comes the really, like, also the ethical, the moral side of actually doing investigation crimes and the whole police thing, because in general the police, what they try is to prevent as well they not only to react when the bad thing has happened, and that's why they were saying sometimes you need to engage actually before that, when you're and prevent that, and then the others were saying but this is a very tricky thing because then you can do a big mistake and it could turn out that this guy actually did not
give him like
acting
50 hours with a psychologist.
So here comes the ethical part, should you not, because
I believe he went close to the line, but he didn't cross it.
Yeah, I am on the same opinion.
I believe they should have
it was
outed
an interesting
him.
case.
He should have been outed and ostracized in his environment.
Or just forced to go to a psychiatrist.
And the people who were being talked about should have been informed, for example.
Yes, because they could have been in danger, so they should know
what fucked up. Because if somebody did that to me, I would want to know who's that.
Yeah, exactly.
Just so that I can get
this
them
is
out
like
of my life.
it's a nice case, and also it feeds into the whole, if you think someone is gonna commit a murder in, let's say, 2 or 3 years, 5 years from now, does that entitle you to stop him, like to put him in jail or to kill him?
Talking about Minority Report here, by the way.
No, I saw The Omen recently, and it was with the Antichrist, and it was a child.
No, it's something else.
Have you seen the Minority Report?
No.
Oh, you really
It's a sci-fi movie with Tom Cruise where he's
it's
working
actually
in a...
2000s, 2004.
It's a
You didn't give me a pen, so I cannot write.
No, I'm gonna give you, but because it's a really good one. I mean,
You have it on tape, you don't need to...
Sure, I just have to watch it. The Minority.
I'm gonna write to you a note.
It's about Tom Cruise, and he works exactly in a future crime division that does those. They have some psychic media, and they're able to see into the
Predict.
future. Exactly.
But this you can do with artificial intelligence
before
right now.
the perpetrator were about to commit the crime, they're able to interfere and stop him.
Just
on the basis of this psychic.
Yeah, it's
people
still
actually.
legally a bit.
It was
it's a movie, of course.
We
It's
won't
a
tell you the twist, but it's a good twist. As
You
well,
can
and
catch him like
it's
with the
also
weapon,
the moral question.
but he never
Yeah.
actually
That's
did
the
it.
thing.
Yeah. That's the thing.
It's interesting. Well, the movie for me was like shocking because it was a 5-year-old.
The
That,
Omen, right?
yes, that was the Antichrist, that child, and this guy was trying to kill him just to get rid of the world of it. But does that excuse his action? Like saving 100,000 people by killing one who hasn't yet done anything,
That's
it's
such
like
an
a
old
moral
question of philosophy.
Yeah, it's about the quantity, actually.
Yeah, thank you about this.
They even asked this question, made it to different degrees to see what people would do. You know?
What did they ask?
Well, they asked this question in different variations. For example, there are 5 people on a train track, and you can save them by flipping the switch, but if you flip the switch, other people will die. And they remove the degree to which you were directly involved.
Yes.
If you're just pressing a button, or if you have to push them, or if you have to shoot someone.
This is like the trolley dilemma, for the self-driving cars and stuff. There's the dilemma, if the car is, or let's say a train is on a track to kill 5 people, and you can divert it to kill instead 1 person, what would you do it? Like, does it justify to save 5 lives and take 1?
Exactly.
Or to kill yourself again was like killing someone, or to have an accident and kill yourself. It's hard. I don't think there is a straight answer to this kind of question.
That's the idea.
But it's good to talk about it and to try to figure something out.
Yeah, of course.
Also, I recommend the Omen is a remake. Actually, the one I saw it is from 2006. The original one is from 1976, I think.
Okay.
And they say the original one is better.
Interesting, the Omen?
Yes.
Okay.
When I start watching a horror movie, I cannot stop. And I was by myself in Venice, and it was 1 or 2 in the morning, and then I was so scared I was gonna dream, because these things they stay in my head for a long time afterwards. So yeah. Luckily, I dreamt that I was picking pearls, like taking shells out of the water, opening them, and just picking pearls out of them.
It's quite cool. That's super
I actually searched on Google to see what it means.
And what it means?
Something about women, and something about something
Feminine.
inner thing that I have to develop or protect or whatever. It's very weird.
You have to go into the depth of your subconscious.
No, because I mean, you dream different things every night.
Interpretations, it's always like
it's whack. They can tell you whatever.
If you dream a baby, it means illness. You know, like why?
A woman in a wedding dress means she's gonna die. If you dream someone that's wedding, yes.
Except if you dream about your own wedding that was in the past, it's actually memory.
Oh.
But have you seen Battle Royale?
No.
Oh,
it's a fun. Have you seen it?
Yes, we watched it together.
No, we didn't watch Battle Royale together.
We did, wasn't it?
What's
with the
the
Asian kids that were going to the island.
We watched it?
Yes, and then they made them. Yeah, it was a good one.
Oh, it's fucked up, yeah.
It's fucked up. I mean, it's good for them, but it's a good one.
It's again about the future. It's like it's the original Hunger Games, actually.
Okay, I haven't seen Hunger Games.
No? Oh, you would like it. I think you would like it.
They put a bunch of children that are specifically selected on an island, and then they broadcast it on the TV. That's the first thing. And each of the children gets a random bag with a random weapon.
Cool.
So some children get like a shovel or a saw, or some get guns, and then they let them just run, and they tell them the last person gets off the island.
The last person.
And those are children, so you see like 16-year-olds. Oh, that's fucked up. But the Japanese are fucked up.
Yeah.
So if they didn't kill anyone, they wouldn't have gotten off the island.
They have some mechanism that forces them.
There would be somebody who kills them, because it's either you have to be the last one, so you have to get rid of all of the rest.
There's some poison gas or something that drives the blood as well. If
yeah,
they don't,
was there?
Or they have the color.
They had something. Yeah, but it was a good
an experiment.
Indeed.
I don't want to be the party pooper, but I believe we should slowly wrap up.
Yeah, it's already
We're
an hour
approaching
and
10.
I have no idea how
almost 2
far.
hours.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
You're having relatives tomorrow.
I have some.
Well,
yeah, and I need to clean up and. Yeah, I was very happy to do this.
And then,
Maybe there's a viewer who now saw you and felt like, oh, this lady I would like to
clean up the house.
That's a good way to
Somebody
win
Tomorrow from 9 to 12.
win a heart, you know.
Absolutely.
I don't trust anyone to clean my apartment, actually.
From the internet emphasis.
Not even. My sister wants to hire a cleaning lady, but I'm such a control freak that I'm afraid she's gonna put stuff in places and I'm not gonna find them. And
that's even not such a bad thing to fear. Much better.
That's not
I'm a
She's gonna
control
put the
freak.
things in the wrong place.
What if I search? I mean, I have an order in my chaos, you know, like.
That's cute.
I see that though, yeah.
And you can make yourself angry, for example, and I always clean so well when I'm angry. I swear.
do?
Yes, when I'm
That's
angry,
why you
it's
never
just
clean.
because I'm like, yeah, actually.
You should
that's
get
why-
her angry more
Or
often.
when I don't wanna, like when I have like, I don't know, but this was at least in the studies, you know, when I had to just read some text or whatever, I was thinking of the, like, all kinds of
Okay,
shit
so you're
to
driven
do,
by anger.
to do, you know, yes, definitely. If I'm angry, I can't sit at one place.
Are
I
you
can't
clean in
talk.
the mornings, really?
I just have to do something, you know, and I'm like, oh, okay, and then.
That's why you clean in the mornings.
Yes, that. By the way, I'm sure it's to some degree related.
You're angry in
She
the
hates
morning?
mornings.
I hate mornings. One reason is that because I have watched my mother doing it, so it kind of habit that's, you know, if you watch somebody doing, because she was always, I always do the dishes and I was like, when I wake up, this is the first, even before doing the coffee, but it
Wow.
might be that I really hate mornings. I mean, I feel super depressed.
It's
in
good
the
that you know at least what drives you. I have no idea what
I have
drives
to do
me.
something in order to just like shut off
Yes.
this thing. I have to do something with my hands and
Okay.
and then that's why I do the
I don't mind cleaning, but I like cooking more. So my sister does the cleaning and I do the cooking.
Oh, that's a good.
It's a good balance, yeah.
That's a good
Distribution of
separation.
labor.
Yeah.
Distribution is really good.
But then when we both slack, it's it's hell.
You just put pyjama.
Then you can be angry at each other and then that's
And then
like,
we'll drive.
Yeah.
I will test that tomorrow because definitely I need
magnets, you
some. Yeah, 2 pluses or 2 minuses.
Well, thank you for coming a second
Thank you for
time, Monika.
having me. And again, it was a very interesting discussion.
I want to have you a third time because actually this
philosophical.
time we didn't speak about Romania once. And there's actually many things.
I did mention a little bit there in the middle, but
Yeah,
not
it didn't
enough.
offer itself in the process.
True.
I would
It
say,
kind of
so-
happened, yeah.
But with
Naturally.
pleasure, I would participate, but I don't want to hog it. I think this is a good idea. Next time, yeah, because you should do this with every person maybe that you know that comes from a different country. If you thought about this and get like a panoply, like an actual picture of the whole Europe or the
That would
whole
be
world
great.
at some point, you know.
Yes, yes.
Be a nice idea.
Last week was Patrick actually, who was from Slovakia. He spoke about Slovakia. The previous time it was Prince, who is from Liberia.
Liberian
Africa.
diplomat.
So we actually, we already had some very
Cool.
mixed backgrounds. But
I will get
next
you-
time you speak about Romania.
I will get you next time. I will get you. There's this map that you scratch the places you've been. You could scratch the places that you've
That
talked
would
about.
be that would be a great
That's
gift
awesome.
actually. I
Yeah.
want to have such a map in general.
I have
Maybe
one at
two,
home.
you know,
For
or-
me,
I
it
always
was
wanted to have
very
it.
sad. I have it, and it's sad because I've never been out of Europe. And then when I started scratching where I've been, I realized that
You're going
this
to the same
table,
places.
this table is the whole world, and I've only been in this square. You know, like it's sad.
You
I
are
don't have
here.
enough time to see everything, but
But you
will.
have many like
wanting
more
to see
years
as most as you can is already something.
Yeah.
Life is long.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a marathon and not a race.
Yeah.
As they say.
Well, thank you. I will let you wrap it up.
Thank you, Monika.
You're welcome.
Okay.
My last words are subscribe, and if you're an interesting person, come to us
Exactly.
and say what you think.
We're interested to hear what you think. Yeah.
How do it?
Wait, let's actually put our logo
Yeah.
to have a cool background. Yeah, and my